Hey guys, I'm Madison Mary and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a manga recommendation video for you guys. So today I have 8 mangas that I'm going to be recommending to you guys. They go from a lot of different genres. You know, I have a couple of shoujo, a couple of shonen, so it just depends. I'm going to start off with 2 that I have recently been very obsessed with. The first one is My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. I also watched the anime of this. It's like only 12 episodes, so it's really short once you finish the manga. It's a lot of fun to kind of see them both at the same time. So we follow a girl who wakes up and finds herself reincarnated in an otome game as the conniving villainess Katarina Klaus. Katarina Klaus is a very rich, very spoiled daughter of a duke, and she is actually betrothed to the crown prince. And from her past life, she knows how the otome game goes. And she knows that if certain events happen, then she will end up either being exiled or being killed at the end of the otome game, which is what she's currently living in. She decides she's gonna do whatever she can to prevent the doom flags from occurring so that she can actually live out her life and actually survive for once, unlike dying early in her previous life. This is actually a lot of fun. I was a little bit disappointed that there wasn't an actual endgame romance in this, but all the characters were an absolute riot, and there are somewhat, it is a harem concept because it is an otome game that she is technically in, but it was a lot of fun, especially just seeing her kind of being a villainess, but also not wanting to actually fall into the role of a villainess and how she kind of went about everything. It was a lot of fun and the style is gorgeous. The next one is also similar, and that is Accomplishments of a Duke's Daughter. This also follows an otome game addict who gets hit by a truck and then is reincarnated in an otome game. And once again, this girl finds herself reincarnated not as the protagonist, but as the antagonist. And it starts out with one of the events of the otome game where the antagonist gets sent to live in a nunnery. And so she decides, I'm not gonna let this happen. I'm going to actually make something of my life and make something of being this somewhat antagonist villainess, and she ends up actually kind of taking on this very prestigious role and completely turning the otome game on its head. It's a lot of fun. I still haven't finished this one, so I have no idea which way it's actually going to go. In comparison to My Next Life as a Villainess, Accomplishments of a Duke's Daughter takes on more of an idea of exploring this world and exploring new paths instead of actually just following the game itself and creating a new game for herself to be in. I like this one a lot. It has a lot more political intrigue and kind of her being a duke's daughter and kind of making a place for her in society in comparison to the first one, which is just about a girl trying to avoid the otome game's doom flags. The third one is so much fun, and that is Alice in Murderland. So we follow the elite house of the Kyoji clan. Every year there is a family reunion, and this year everything turns awry when the headmistress, the siblings' mother, there's 9 siblings, their mother announces that their father has invoked the competition to find out who will become the next head of the family. And this competition is actually a fight to the death. And so we're following Stella, who is the 4th daughter, the one who you see on the cover, and she is actually a very placid, very sweet girl, but when she gets pushed too far, she actually transforms into Alice, and she has blonde hair and she becomes kind of a murdering machine. This is so much fun, totally different than anything I've read before, and it is such a riot to read. Trust me, I know it sounds weird, I know it looks kind of weird, but it is really cool, really gory, really gruesome, and just so much fun. And another cool thing is the fact that these mangas all come as a hardcover, so they're not like floppy, which is also really awesome. I don't physically own them, which really sucks. I really want to someday, but they're a lot more expensive. Fourth up, we have Prince Freya. This is by Keiko Ishihara, and I only recently came across this. I think there's only 3 volumes out at the moment here in the US. And so we're following Freya, who is a very simple village girl. She has 2, childhood friends who are both knights in the King's Guard. And, she's just chilling, living her life. However, everything changes when Prince Edvard, the crown prince, ends up dying of poison. And so it turns out that Freya is actually the perfect doppelganger for the prince, except for the fact that she is a female. So she ends up getting recruited and asked/made to become the next crown prince. in order to keep their country's morale high, because Prince Edward was the one who was kind of keeping the country together and stopping it from being overrun, not externally, but also internally. And so it's really interesting. I also love these like gender bent kind of mangas because there's always so much fun in them. Next up, we have an oldie, but a goodie, and that is A Devil and Her Love Song by Miyoshi Tomori. So we're following Maria, and she grew up kind of at a monastery nunnery elite school in which she was very revered for her beautiful singing voice, but her kind of nature and her disposition was very unlikable for everyone, and she was actually called the devil at her school. After a series of events, she actually ends up getting kicked out of her school and having to go to a public school. Now, she really doesn't give a second crap about anyone. She's kind of her own person, and she's kind of given up on everyone and kind of only relies on herself. But when she lands in this new school, she actually ends up catching the attention of these two guys, and a lot of things go on from there. It's definitely not as romance heavy as I make it sound in the description. It definitely follows more along the lines of Maria's journey. It has a lot of very dark topics, and as I said, Maria is not a likable character to everyone around her, even though she's just because of her frank personality. And so it's a very beautiful story because it kind of shows her kind of coming to be herself and kind of opening up to people around her because she's a very closed off person. So I really love this one, but it is a very long mangaka series, so do be aware of that. Then we have The Royal Tutor by Higasa Akai. This one is a lot of fun. So following Hein, who is the brand new Royal Tutor, and he looks like a child, but he is extremely smart and like just like nuts, guys. And his new job as the Royal Tutor is to tutor the kingdom's 4 princes. Now, they all have very different personalities and none of them actually want to be tutored. However, Hein has all these different ideas as to how he's going to tutor these 4 crown princes, and the way that he plans to go about it is both hilarious and so much fun and so smart. This is very different from the typical mangas that I read, and so when I came across it, I was a bit hesitant at first, but the comedy in this is utter gold, and it was just such a blast to read. I still haven't finished the series. I think I've only read the first 3 or 4 volumes of it. I just think that it's a very unique concept, and it kind of reminds me, well, the main character reminds me of Tanya from Saga of Tanya the Evil. I definitely recommend it if that sounds interesting to you, and definitely give it a choice. Don't just like shrug it off because it's a lot of fun. Then we have one that I've only newly come across, and that is Spy X Family. So we're following this master spy known as Twilight, and he is very renowned. He goes on a lot of undercover assignments and no one actually knows what he looks like. However, his newest assignment actually ends up going totally awry when he is told to get a wife and a child in order to infiltrate a school so that he can get to his target. And so, little to his knowledge, the wife he has managed to procure is actually an assassin, and the child he has managed to adopt is actually a telepath. So it's actually a hilarious ragtag group, and it's really funny because the daughter's a telepath. She knows that her dad is actually a spy and the mum is actually an assassin, but that neither of them know who the other person is, and it's actually a lot of fun. And then last but not least, we have The Delinquent Housewife. I read this series at the beginning of this year, all 4 volumes, and I was a bit surprised because it didn't have the romantic aspect of it that I was expecting, but once again, I am such a huge fan of delinquents in my mangas, so I loved this for that aspect alone. So we're following Komugi, and she is the bride-to-be to Toru. They end up moving in with his family before they end up getting married. However, he ends up getting called away on a business trip, and so Komugi is stuck with her soon-to-be in-laws at their house, and she has no idea what she's going to do because she has no idea how to be a proper housewife because she was raised as a delinquent, and so she doesn't know how to cook, she doesn't know how to do laundry, and she's completely terrified because she thinks she's gonna make all these wrong impressions. But she's not the kind of delinquent that a lot of people think she is, and it's just such a fun look because she ends up confiding in the younger brother of her fiance, and just the relationships that she ends up building inside this house are just a lot of fun because she's constantly just learning and making all these mistakes. So it's a very cute kind of slice of life comedy, but don't go into it expecting a romance to be present in it. And yes, that is it. Those are my 8 recommendations. Let me know if you guys have read any of these and if you also enjoy them. If you have any other manga recommendations that you would like me to give, please leave them in the comments down below. I've also left in the description box links to each of these mangas on Right Stuff in case you want to buy them. And yes, if you guys enjoyed this video, please hit the like button down below. If you want to see more of me, please go to my channel. And until next time, thanks a bunch, guys. Bye!